We are we finally found another animal apart from the elephants in the long grass, and it's two topi, one really standing high on a termite mound, and with this long grass and the amount of predators around, it's a very good place to be. You'll be able to see any potential sneaking kitty cats from up there. And you can see a harrier disappearing behind. Oh, another harrier in front. Montagues. Is it? It looks like. No. Yes. No, it's not a Montagues. What is that? Well, it's maybe a juvenile. There are a few European marsh harriers around. I can't really see. I don't think it is a European marsh harrier. Maybe a juvenile Montagues. Yes, I think juvenile Montagues from that brief view we got. Now I'm hoping that we found a topi. That means there might be a predator around. So we're coming up to an area called Mlimambili, the two hills. There's two little rocky outcrops up here that are often frequented by lion, leopard and cheetah. James sitting there says it was a Eurasian. As I said, there are quite a few Eurasians around. So thank you very much, Jamesy. Eurasian marsh harrier. As I said, that they arrived. When was the first Eurasian I saw? Probably about 2-3 months ago. The first Eurasian I saw in East Africa is while we were on holiday in Uganda. And actually saw it from a boat flying above some papyrus, almost eye level with us. Now, you can see the grass is a little bit shorter here. That's probably why the topi are here. Now, we've tried to get Tristan to dance. We know we don't need to force James to dance. He'll do that all by himself. Scott's flat out refused to dance. So let's see if Ali's a better sport than Tristan. And will Ali give us a bit of Latin dancing on this sunset safari?
I will not dance, Brent Leo Smith. I am a better dancer than you. Everybody knows that. I'm from South America. Right, we have managed to get all the way from Buffelshoek Dam, and it is looking quite full. I'm surprised at how full it is looking compared to some of the other water holes that we have around Djuma, like Treehouse Dam and Twin Dams. Twin Dams in particular, I find that it's looking very... What is that at the bottom? It's a leopard! Woohoo! Down at the bottom there. You see? Yeah. Hello. Woohoo! I'm so excited. I felt like it was walking too strangely to be anything else. Hello, beautiful boy. Now, let's see. Will you please get a little bit closer? I am a bit rusty. It looks like Tingana to me, but like I say, I haven't seen these guys for quite a long time. But I wouldn't be surprised. He was left walking into Torchwood this morning, and no wonder all the little lapwings, that noise that you're hearing, the birds blip, 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 making a noise. Now, I'm going to try and go a little bit forward, Senzo, just so that we're a little closer to the leopard. Or at least we have it more of a straightforward, because then maybe we'll get him drinking, which will be very exciting. And Brent Leo Smith, this is why I don't dance. I find leopards while you dance. He's never going to forgive me. Alrighty, that's gonna sting. Alright, perfect. Now he's drinking, and he's just on the other side of the dam. I do think it's good old friend Tingana. Hello, so unexpected to see a leopard all the way up here. Wonderful. So I think we've been quite lucky this afternoon because like we were saying earlier, it's been incredibly hot, very, very hot. But in the last little while, the cloud cover is starting to come in and it seems like we are headed for rain for the next few days. Beautiful. Tanya, you are commenting that if this is indeed Tingana, he's looking terribly skinny. Sorry, yes, he is looking a little bit skinny, at least from all the way here, but he's still looking quite powerful as he does. I just wish that maybe he would start coming back onto our side. But I'm just gonna let him drink in peace for a little while because we have probably the best view from this side of where we are, and then we'll carry on following. Because also in this area where we are, we've passed a herd of impala just on the other side, which cannot really see Tingana from where they're lying. So I think he's being very clever. Now there's his very big Djuma, very prominent as usual, as Tingana would have it, because he's a dominant territorial male leopard. And it's very exciting to actually see him. So we've seen Hosanna this morning and Tingana this afternoon. Very exciting times. Now, I'm just gonna wait for him to finish drinking, and then I think we'll be able to assess a little bit better what his body condition is. I did hear a while ago that he was looking even skinnier and he wasn't looking all that great, and some people actually fear that he might pass, but it seems like not really the case. Well, he's still rocking, and if there's anything that I've learned from watching these creatures is that you can never write them off. They always have a wonderful comeback. So I'm gonna go around just to get a little bit closer to him in case and we'll be able to have I'll be a very happy person. Tom, you're wondering if he's having a hard time because Hukumuri is around. Well, I don't think that Hukumuri, I can probably go down there. I don't think the fact that Hukumuri is here is going to help him in any way, but I could be mistaken, but I think that he was already not looking in a great condition even before Hukumuri came around. Sorry, I just need to get into gear. So I think that might be just non-related, but convenient for Hukumuri in a sense. Right, sorry, it's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride until we get there. Alright, we're gonna be right in front of him in about 10 seconds. So let's just see what goes on here, because I'm afraid he's going to stop drinking soon. Shin, were you thirsty? There we go. Hello. Nice. Actually lasted quite a long time drinking. How is that for a beautiful boy? So good to see you. And he still looks quite fearsome, doesn't he? That is stunning. You are looking a bit on the skinny side, I would say. It seems there's a lot of loose skin just hanging there around his neck. But nonetheless, I'm gonna wait for him to actually stand up, and then maybe we'll be able to get a better idea around his shoulders and around his stomach and see how he actually looks like. I think you are a little bit skinny. But I know there are plenty of impala around here, and the fact that you have been walking so much probably means that you've got a lot of energy, which is good. Like I said this morning, he was left walking into Torchwood and he's probably been walking the rest of the day, and that's why he's so thirsty. Look at that beautiful tongue. You are stunning. Very happy that you're still around. Now, I'm surprised that he came all the way here to drink. Because it's the rainy season, there are a lot of little puddles of water all around the blocks and in between the roads. So I wonder just how long he's actually been walking, or perhaps he just prefers the taste of this water. It will be an interesting study to do if animals actually have a preference for a particular taste of water. But, pardon me, out of all the areas that are, or all the water puddles and dams that are in this area, this is probably one of the ones that looks the cleanest. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's actually chosen this one on purpose because he doesn't really want to drink some of the other ones that might be a little bit too muddy. We know that elephants have been around also making everything a little bit worse. James, you're saying that you love having or seeing cats drink water. It is pretty incredible, isn't it? And there have been so many studies as to how exactly it is that cats drink water. Because I used to think that with the back part of their tongue curled up, that's where they put the water and then they take it back up. But actually what they do is, because they hit the water very quickly, they create a certain tension between the water surface and their tongue, and as they separate their tongue from the water, that's actually when they put the water in their mouth. So it's perhaps a reason why they have to drink so much, because only a few drops go in at a time. And there are some incredible shots that they've done to just try and figure out how they actually drink, because it's a very unique thing to cats, because they drink. I don't know. I think it would be easier for them if they could just stick their noses in the, well, not their noses, but their muzzle in the water, and then just start absorbing the water in. Shame. You are looking a bit skinny. But hopefully you'll be on the mend. Still have a territory and cubs to defend, old boy. Although you're not that old. You're still strong. Sending you all the positive thoughts. And look at the size of those paws. Here, we can tell hopefully where Tamba gets them from. Very big. Especially now in that muddy substrate. It's not too bothered by all the little birds around. And I can hear squirrels in the distance going crazy. And who wouldn't be scared of those, of the strength of those feet? Let's see how you walk. Tom, you're asking, you are looking skinny now. Tom, you're wondering if it could be that he's ill. It could be. I know that there was a time a few weeks ago where everybody feared that he might actually be dead, because he wasn't seen for quite a while, and he was seen under the same branch of the tree or under the same tree for a few days, and everybody was a little bit scared that he might not be well. I think it is possible that he is recovering, because we've seen him here, and I do believe that he's walked quite a distance today, and I don't think he would be capable of walking that distance if he was feeling that sick. He would probably just stick around that area. He is looking a little bit as a shadow of himself. Like I said, you see that there's a lot of loose skin hanging in there, whereas before he used to fill it all up, and it was almost like, you know, the guides around here tend to say that he looks like a sausage. So he's not quite looking like a sausage yet, but I am hoping that he'll be on the mend. Definitely is in need of a good meal. Very likely he's also been trying to avoid Hukumuri, because if Hukumuri is a healthy younger boy, then Tingana, being a little bit of an older, although seasoned boy, and this is his territory and he knows it quite well, then he's got to also be at his forefront of energy just to be able to fend off the attack or the intrusion of any other male leopard, and then of course to defend his cubs. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's actually been avoiding Hukumuri just until the time where he gets strong enough, and then he'll come claiming his territory once more. However, he's got to recover first. Shame, you are looking skinny. Maybe he'll have a bit of a bite of a lapwing somewhere. Now, I think I'm gonna go around this particular area, and hopefully we'll be able to get a view from the other side. Wendy, you're wondering if he would be able to successfully defend his territory. Well, I don't think at the moment, and looking the way he is a very powerful boy, and he's got almost the home advantage, because this is his area where he's been roaming around and commanding for quite a while now. So I think he will have that on his side. However, I don't think he is as strong as he should be to successfully fight off any other intruding males like the Hukumuri male, which is a new male into the area. But I have hope that he'll recover. It is funny how often we think that these animals are not going to do well, and then all of a sudden they seem to be just fine and recover after a very good meal. Whoop. This is getting a little bit complicated, so as I try to reposition and gain another view, let's head over to Jamie, who I believe is with some pretty warthogs.
Beyond the fact that they are very pretty, I've got a riddle that has popped up here. Unfortunately, they've all popped back down into the long grass, making it very hard to explain the riddle to you. That is a male warthog over there, a big male warthog. And I saw another big male warthog, and then I saw a third warthog, and I assumed that that was the mother, the third warthog. But as it turned out, the third warthog was also male. So now we've got 3 adult male warthog and 4 piglets. I cannot work this one out. My best answer, there's no 4th warthog. There's no 4th adult warthog, therefore the mother is not here. You don't see little piglets of this age on their own or this far away from their mothers. I can only assume that the mother something's happened to her. Perhaps she's been caught by a lion, perhaps by another predator, and she is no longer here. But the little piglets are old enough now to feed on solid food, and while I don't think that they are 6 months old, which is around about when baby warthogs are weaned, I think that they're old enough now to probably survive without their mother's milk. And I wonder if the fact that they are as young as they are, and they really are very young, and 4 months old, maybe even a bit less. I can't even see any sign of tusks yet. I can only imagine that their youth means that they feel attracted to others of the same species, and they just want to spend some time with the males just so that they feel safer. A natural, not quite herding instinct when it comes to warthogs. But shame, we've got 4 little piggies, and they don't know where their mommy is. That's really quite sad. Little orphans, I think. Now, there's no situation where the male warthogs would adopt them or look after them in any way, but they are tolerating them because it's not breeding season. Unless their mother's in a burrow, but I just don't see it. I don't think it's likely. Oh, yeah, I got a bit of a fright there. That's so weird. Tom, no, warthogs don't have a structure like jackal, for example, where they mate for life and the male participates in the raising of the young. It's okay. Go into your burrow then if you feel safer with your little wet snout. Oh! Belly flop! No, they don't. They don't mate for life, and the males don't play any kind of a role in raising the offspring. They might occasionally hang around near the females, but they don't play. They're not father figures. Karen says that perhaps the piggy mummy went to the market. And perhaps she's going to cry wee 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 all the way home, Karen. Some big pig. Yo, it's a serious set of tusks on that pig, especially his bottom tushes. Talking about telling the difference between male and female warthog, of course they have the 4 warts instead of the 2, which was how I immediately identified that it was a group of males. But I double-checked myself because we have in the past seen a female warthog with 4 warts. They're not warts, they are hard pieces of sort of connective tissue. But when in doubt, if you can't look at the face, there are some relatively prominent male parts on a male warthog that will help to confirm, and I can promise you that all 3 adults had them. So I don't know. I can only assume shame. I can only assume that those poor piglets are orphans. Or warphans. A warphan is a warthog orphan. Michelle, it's very unusual for warthogs to be poached for their tusks. They are essentially made of the same thing as elephants. Tusk, of course, a tusk is modified teeth, and warthog have them, elephant have them. It's not as favored as elephant tusks are. Of course, it becomes ivory after it has been worked. But there are certain situations where people do catch them and kill them, more for bushmeat than for anything else. They also become the victims of snares in situations where snares have been put out, and occasionally to pass off the tusk as an elephant tusk. Is there another warthog there? Is that Mum? That warthog at the back, sorry. Can we zoom in a little bit there? Thank you. That might be Mum. She is very far away from her little piglets. The mystery deepens. Alright, right, well, we puzzle out the mystery of the little piglets who didn't have a mum around them. Maybe she did go to market. Maybe that's where the Warthog market is. Let's return to Ali and Djuma and see where Tingana is. He's been such a lovely surprise this afternoon.
Yo, what a sighting, this one. We have been really truly blessed with this sighting. He just decided to go on one of the edges of the dam wall, and that's exactly where he's lying. And he's just been, I think more than anything, enjoying the breeze, because it's a very cool spot where he's chosen, and he's just looking around and seeing everything, and doesn't seem to be too bothered. But what a stunning view of this cat. This is absolutely gorgeous. When he went and lied there, I think Senzo and I were like, yes, amazing. Very beautiful. Now all you have to do is catch yourself an impala and then you'll be fine. Or maybe 2 impala rather than just 1. So you see, he's still very much alert of everything that's going around here. You see the ears are constantly twitching and listening and picking up noises from every direction. I actually thought that he was going to go in the direction where he's facing now, where it's just opposite of where we are, as there was a herd of impala that was drinking a little bit earlier on. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is actually on the hunt, and then he'll start approaching them. And not too far from here, I mean, at least not for the normal distances that Tingana seems to like to walk. There we also saw an injured impala, so it could be that there would be different things in his favor. So let's see, I'm not too sure, I'm just putting everything out there. But it is amazing what happens sometimes throughout the night. And he's looking quite intent. I'm sure he can probably see them. I cannot see them from where we are because we are just obviously below him. But I think he's picked up the sight of those impala that we were looking at earlier. So it's a bachelor herd of impala, so a group of young males, and they've started almost, and we saw them this morning when we were heading back to camp. It almost seems like they've started rutting and fighting, and things are getting a little bit more aggressive than what they should be at this time of the year, which would be good for him, as it would give them an advantage. If the boys are distracting, fighting or sparring or just doing something else, they might not pay that much attention to the potential danger that's looking around very close to them. That is a stunning visual. I'm so happy to see Tingana. I wanted to see Hosanna and Tingana. Joel, you're wondering how long can leopards live for? Well, in captivity they can go for quite a long time, but normally in the wild, if they reach 20 years of age, then it's quite a long time. I would say male leopards, because there's a little bit more fighting involved in their lives and protecting territories and patrolling, there's probably a good average, I would say about 15, 16 perhaps. So somewhere around there, but they are known to go well beyond that. In females, we actually had a female in this area. If I'm not mistaken, her name was Safari, and she was recorded to live up to 19 years of age, which is quite a lot. Beautiful. I think our boy has gone a little bit sleepy, so let's go across to Tristan, who is apparently looking at the giants from above.
We are indeed. So we're sitting enjoying the view of a beautiful Ellie bull as he meanders between marulas, should I say. He's not just going to one, he's going around and kind of picking off as he goes. And he is such a relaxed individual, because he's been kind of allowing us to follow him for a little bit, and he stops and he feeds, and it's been so wonderful watching, because from our ground perspective, it looks very different. It doesn't look like we can actually see him at all. And with the drone, it's kind of quite easy. We can actually follow him quite quickly, and we can have a situation where, there you go, you can see how difficult it is for us where we're sitting to see him, but from the aerial feed is much easier. And the other interesting thing that was happening with the drone is we were watching a fork-tailed drongo following him around and hawking insects from behind him. So as he would walk, this little drongo would come down and just grab insects from his back feet. Really is very cool to see. So hopefully he'll come out a little bit more, and there we go, he's going to slowly start coming out, I think. Drongo is still somewhere there. If you look out every now and then, you just see this little black dot. He walks around, and every now and then you'll see he kind of walks to a tree, and then he stops and he'll grab a trunk full. There we go. So a trunk full of food, and in it goes. Now what you can also see is that his sort of back is darker in coloration halfway, and his trunk as well. and that's because he's actually been in the water. So he was down at Treehouse Dam, that's where we first found him, and he was having a good little bath, and he sprayed the backs of his ears and the sides of his body to try and cool himself down more than anything else. I don't think he actually drank too much. I think it was more just a cooling situation. But how cool is that? It's such a unique way to look at it, and he's a really nice, relaxed individual. You can see he's going underneath the tree again now, which is very cool. So, Jared, yes, the Djuma elephants do eat grass. In fact, at this time of the year, in the summer months, when it's more our rainfall months, we'll find that the elephants will eat probably about 60% of their daily intake will be mostly grasses. The problem that we've had over the last 2 to 3 years is that we've had very poor rainfall in the summer, which means that our grasses are not very good. You can see from this aerial perspective how there's very little grass covering. Actually, it looks like a lot when you're down on the ground, but from the aerial point of view, you can see the grass is very patchy, and that means it's been tough for this elephant to actually be able to find a lot of grassy food. And so they've turned their attention more to barks and roots and leaves over this period. But generally, about 60% of their diet in the summer months is more grass-based, and then as they go into the winter, so that changes and they'll have less and less grass. But how cool a visual is that for an elephant? It's absolutely amazing. He is such a relaxed individual as well. You can see he's not fazed by the drone kind of following him as well, which is very, very cool. And they're coming up to a big road there, so I think that's Treehouse West that they're about to cross, or he's about to cross. Julie, you're wondering if a rogue elephant is a vicious elephant? Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, rogue elephants, or a lone male bull elephant like this, is just a young male that's been evicted from his herd, and then he becomes a solitary individual. Male elephants very seldom spend a lot of time with females. It's only if they're in heat do they then go there and to try and mate. And the other reason they would follow or be in a group together would be if there was young bulls sort of accompanying one another just after they've been removed from a herd structure. So a lone elephant is not necessarily a dangerous elephant. When elephants become rogue, I suppose if they get out of game reserves and they become stressed, then yes, any animal stressed can be dangerous. But elephants by nature are not aggressive animals. It's only if they feel like they're being threatened or if there's a reason for them to be aggressive, which is normally because people have persecuted them over a long period of time, that makes them a little bit more aggressive in certain parts of the world. Luckily here in South Africa, our elephants are pretty relaxed and pretty chilled. Hassan, you're wondering if it's true that elephants mourn their dead? Well, I mean, yes, they are intrigued by dead relatives or dead elephants that they come across. So if they come past and they see bones and various other things, then they'll go and they'll sniff it, and sometimes they even pick it up and they put it in their mouth, and they spend a lot of time there and they go very quiet. So whether or not it's mourning is difficult to measure, but there is a period when they come across bones that they will kind of look and they'll see, and they'll take some time to actually work out what's going on. Now, I do apologize that there's a bit of breakup on the drone itself. Sometimes we lose a little bit of picture quality, which is to be expected given that we are live in Africa. Right, so but back to what I was saying about the elephants and in terms of their relatives and mourning. So elephants are very intelligent animals. They've got a very big brain, and they are socially very attached, particularly the herds. And so if a calf dies or a member of the herd dies, yes, there is going to be some emotional trauma there, and you'll definitely find that the elephants will go through some stress. Whether that's mourning is very difficult to say, but they do go through some period where they kind of watch what's going on, and they'll stay there, and they'll be around that dead animal, and there's a lot of vocalizing and kind of touching and those kind of things that happen. So it does sort of look like they're mourning. Whether or not they're actually mourning is difficult to say. Now, I can hear something breathing deeply behind me, and actually what I can see is a hippo. So it's just gone underwater there. Scuba Steve, I wonder if this is Scuba Steve. Maybe Scuba Steve is back at Treehouse. It's been a while since we've had Scuba Steve around. He's normally hangs out at Buffelshoek Dam and is quite shy, but this fella today is making a lot of noise and a lot of ripples, and so I wonder if it's because it's a little shallow, so every time he moves there's a ripple that's being made. There you go, you can see just kind of the water moving underneath the surface there. Right, well, we're going to try and carry on, see what else we can find, and while we do that, let's send you back across to the ever regal Tingana.
Right, seems like somebody's tired and has decided to go for a nap, and it's a little bit heartbreaking once he goes down and you can see all the bones protruding. So I think we're all hoping for Tingana to get better. Hopefully he'll get lucky tonight or later on today. Normally the windy conditions are very good for predators as they start moving around, as the wind tends to swirl quite a bit and it'll camouflage their smell, their scent, and they'll be able to perhaps approach animals a little bit closer. Shame boy. He is a little bit tired, and like I said, from the reports we received this morning, I think that he's been walking quite a distance, so probably a nice, well-earned rest, and he's in an area where that he's chosen quite well. First of all, there's a nice breeze coming through, so he'll be able to keep himself cool, but also there are very little things that will actually be able to approach him from either side without him knowing that they're coming. So I think he's actually been quite strategic as to why he's chosen this particular spot. Obviously there's water in front of him and very little can get to him, and from behind also not too many things that will be able to approach without him knowing. So there are a few also escape routes should another male leopard or elephants or even lions come into this particular area. So you see he can very easily go down on either side of the bridge wall, and then he'll be able to move off. Elaine, you're wondering if Osana would bring a kill for Tingana, Tingana being his dad, for him if he's too sick to hunt or to fend for himself. No, leopards have a different way of life to what we do. What could happen though is that Tingana would stumble on Hosana's kill and probably try to chase him off the kill so that he could eat part of it, if not whatever it is that is left. However, Hosana would not actively seek Tingana and try to bring him food. Social relationships in the leopard world become very loose as the leopards become older, particularly in animals of the same gender. So even if Tingana is Hosana's father, eventually Hosana is going to become competition for Tingana in terms of territory, in terms of females to mate with. So things are not going to be that pretty for the both of them, and all of this sociability that we've seen with them in the last few months, where Tingana has actually been quite tolerant of Hosana and Tamba, might end abruptly. Because, well, now they're competitors and they're no longer his offspring to protect. They're adult leopards and they probably just want to have exactly or do the same as their father. So Tingana is a little bit far away from where Hosana has stashed the kill, so it's going to be still quite a long walk for him to get there. I think he has a better chance with the impala that we're around this area. Perhaps even he will try to get some of the chicks that are for the different bird species that are around here. That might also be good for him. And just because he doesn't seem that full, it doesn't mean that he hasn't been eating. He could have been eating small things. They could be eating smaller creatures. They could be eating squirrels, mongoose, snakes, pretty much anything that's around. I think just maybe not enough of them to make him have a full belly, because they do survive eating a lot of smaller things. Q-Tip, you were wondering how leopards are able to spray back to urine backwards, if I didn't get that question wrong, when they go marking their territory. Well, it's just because of the position of their organs and their genitals, and when they are urinating, it comes at a different, how can I say it, a different force, a different pressure than when they're trying to scent mark. When they're scent marking, it's almost like a spray bottle type of effect, where they just want to put a few drops here on a tree and then they carry on and they do the next one, and they don't want to pretty much put it all in one tree if they've got a patrol to do, just because they want to try and mark as many trees and as many corners as possible, just so that everybody in that particular area know that this particular territory has been taken. And I think it was quite interesting that the Hukumuri male was actually calling or sowing this morning, and that could be part of the reason why Tingana's now come back to Buffelshoek Dam. Maybe he is feeling a little bit better and he's come to explore what's going on. Perhaps he did hear him and he's, taking it easy to get there, because he still needs to recover, but he also means business. This is his home range, this is his territory, this is where he's going to stick around unless a battle throws him away. And I don't think he's quite given up on that yet. Oh, that's a stunning view. Susan, you're wondering if Tingana could have feline TB. No idea. Could be. I think it's a condition that they carry. They don't necessarily die from it, if I'm not mistaken. It could happen, however, it would be very hard to tell, and we wouldn't be able to know. I do know that there was a leopard in the northern Sabi sand that died a few months ago. Her name is Salaesh, and they did a post-mortem exam on that, and they did find that she had lung lesions, which is a very common trait for animals who do have TB. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a carrier, and maybe because he's lost condition quickly, maybe it's affecting him a little bit more. I'm not too sure. It could be a possibility, but there's virtually no way for me to tell right now if he does or if he doesn't. These are unfortunately the type of studies that we or the type of research that we only have access to on a post-mortem basis, and I really hope we won't be doing any of that anytime soon with Tingana. Sounds like you're alert again. What are you looking at? There were some elephants also trumpeting in the distance a little while ago. So I wonder if he's perhaps looking at that. You have the vantage point. I do feel like a little dwarf as we were looking up into the dam and everything else. So you can tell it's interesting how the animals go onto higher ground to be able to look around. Willow, you're 3 years old and you're wondering if I can feed him. Well, I would really like to, because I see that I don't like to see animals very skinny, but unfortunately we are not allowed to. So he's a big boy and he's an adult and he's got to do it by himself. It's the rules of the game. If you're an animal in Africa, or at least in this reserve, you have to do it yourself. So all of us humans, the only thing that we are allowed to do is come and see them and see how pretty they are, and they enjoy their company, but we cannot pet him and we cannot go off to see them because they're not really used to us. And although he looks like a very big pussycat, I don't think he would be too happy with me. And even if Tingana looking as skinny as it is, I would not get anywhere near him because I don't think he would be very happy to see me, and I could still be a very good meal for him, so I don't really want to get eaten by a leopard. So hopefully he won't. We'll stay right here in the car and we won't feed him. We'll just stay here and just tell him he's pretty, and hopefully that'll be enough to make him recover. Very interesting. It is. You can see the clouds and the gloomy afternoon ahead of us, but the temperature is so much better. Yesterday was a very hot day, and I think we probably wouldn't have gotten lucky with him had the weather not turned into this particular temperature and set of conditions. Where are you looking? Seems like he's still looking in the distance. We're going to stick around with him, see what he decides to do and where he goes. But while I do that, let's go over to Brent and find out if he's also seeing a Mara leopard this afternoon.
Oh, Ali, when you found as many leopards as I have, you don't get really excited about one, you know. No, I haven't found a Mara leopard this afternoon. I'm actually skedaddling because we ended up going quite far down to the south. So I'm skedaddling back to get up the hill before the end of park times. And you never know what's going to happen next on a live safari. We might see a Mara leopard yet. Oh dear, here comes the dust. Hi Alana, who's 14 years old. Alana would like to know what tree is the most important to the Mara ecosystem. Well, Alana, it all depends on what part of the Mara you are. So if we go all the way to the east on the other side of the river, up towards the Ngurumans, the mountains in that area, you've got a lot of acacias, in particular whistling thorn. So that sort of biome, the acacias and the comiferas are very important. You get them sort of above silas at the top end of the Sand River. In this section of the Mara, your Walbergias, your diospyruses that are all in these riverine forests. If you go up and up onto the escarpment, your wild olives, and there's a lot of actual species up there. But in the grassy areas of the Mara, the most important tree is almost certainly the balanites trees, or the torchwood trees, and we've got a few of them out there. There's a torchwood tree there, as well as the shepherd's tree. Now, in those big grassy areas, those are the only real bits of shade. There are some small bushes and stuff like that, but if we're talking trees, there's a balanites tree, and you can see how the balanites trees are dotted throughout. So not only do they provide shade, shelter and food to a lot of animals here in the Mara, them and the shepherd's tree in particular. So it all depends on what area you're in, and if you get into sort of rocky outcrops around the Mara River and also towards Salas and that, you'll... Oh, no, I've gone absolutely blank on the name. Feverberry, which is Croton, are very important. If you think about the areas where we are with, spend a lot of time with Chitwa around Talek, the tops of the crests that have those Croton thickets, they're very important areas for the big cats to lie up. They're also for black rhino, Dik all utilize those areas quite extensively. So it all just depends on where you are in the Mara. Now, of course, that also depends a lot on the rainfall. So there's acacia belts and whistling thorns towards the Ngurumans. Those are all, it's a much more arid area. You start seeing animals that you don't get in this part of the Mara. There are greater kudu there. There's steenbok, striped hyena. So you've got different species as well. Because the rainfall is not as high and it's quite rocky, it's quite arid there compared to this area, which gets, I'd probably say that the triangle gets a lot more rain even than Talek and Kikurok and those areas. So again, rainfall plays a part. Soil types play a part, but as I say, there's lots of very important tree species. You could go as far as to say that probably all indigenous tree species are very important, and if you had to remove one, it would be a very big problem for something. So there might not be food for black rhino, there might be an insect species that specifically hosts on the or feeds off or hosts on the tree. So there's a lot of different variables, but yes, I'd say probably the most common one that you can just see very actively is the balanites and the shepherd's tree. And the shepherd's tree is named for the fact that in quite a lot of areas where there's a big open grassland or it's quite arid, it's the only tree that provides shade. So the shepherds looking after their cows and goats and whatnot tend to have a little nap under the shepherd's tree while the animals graze around them. Oof. This wind is not slowing down today. Now, while we continue scrambling towards the road up the mountain, let's go all the way back to South Africa, to Ali and Tingana.
Beautiful. I think he's now decided to look or gaze upon the distance where there is a waterbuck. I was thinking that maybe he was still looking at all of the impala that were around, but the impala are still in a bit of a cove area around the dam, one of the bends of the dam. So I think he's now looking, I don't know if it'll be a tricky one to spot, because I think the waterbuck has just moved behind a tree and now I cannot even see it. But definitely looking at that, a waterbuck out there in the distance, yeah, in between those two trees, you can almost, there we go, you can see the rump. So I think that's what he's been eyeing all this time. It's a female waterbuck and I've only seen one, which is not that usual. There's probably another one around, but definitely cannot see it from this particular angle. And I think that's probably what he's after, what he's looking for. Oh, this is falling down. So maybe he's gauging his options and thinking about how he's going to approach that particular area. But food is all the way over there, so if he is hungry, he's going to have to eventually start walking all the way over there and making his way. He is a clever cat, so I'm sure he'll be able to choose his options carefully. Sorry, Faith, can you just repeat the question if you don't mind? I didn't get the last part of it. Okay. Heidi, you're wondering if another leopard can sense the demise of a male that's already in that area, and that's why perhaps they'll start making their approach. I think so, because there's a lot of olfactory communication that gets put around, and a lot of hormones or pheromones that are floating all around the air. So for example, in the time that Tingana has been sick, he wouldn't have been calling, which is also a way of advertising his territory, and he wouldn't have been marking. Both play a very crucial role in just letting all of the other ones around, and as soon as that, for a continued space of time, maybe a few days, probably more than a few days, a few weeks at a time, he will know. Another male will know that. Sorry, I got distracted trying to figure out what he was looking at, and he's definitely looking at the buffalo. Now, that's a bit too far. I know you're hungry, and that will make you full, but I don't think that's probably enough for you. But yes, I think the Hukumuri male, or any other male for that matter, we could also have eventually Djuma pushing into this territory. As soon as Tingana doesn't mark his territory, advertise his presence here for quite a while, a lot of other leopards start picking up the fact, probably not that he's been dead or missing, but the fact that there isn't an active force in that particular area that's been feeding off, that's been marking, that's been protecting his territory, so that will give them a chance to actually go in there. This is so cool. We've got all of the buffalo coming after the buffalo. I'm getting greedy now. Right, let me see if I can maybe go an inch forward, although there are a few that are coming down on the left and on the right hand side, so I think those ones will be fine. And you see they're very cautious of approaching the water. The wind makes everyone quite wary, especially the prey species, even something as tough and as big as a buffalo. So they approach the water, they're a little bit careful, but now they're all coming down to the water. Seems like quite a big herd, and I think the Nkuhumas are this morning. They've been after this buffalo herd. They've been following them around. Seems like Buffelshoek Dam wasn't the place for us to come this afternoon. How lovely! Now we've got two out of the famous big five in this area. We've got the leopard viewing all of the buffalo. Ooh, and there's quite a few more coming down. Let me just try go a little bit forward. Maybe we'll be able to get a better view of just how many there are. Green, you're wondering if Tingana's still quick and if the buffalo will charge him. Whew, this is a massive herd of buffalo. Look at this. So many of them. I think I'm not too sure if maybe we should go on to the other side. Yes, sorry, Green, just to go back to your question, Tingana is still very quick and the buffalo are still on the other side. So should some of the buffaloes start coming from that area where we first saw him, just across the bend, just all the way around there, then very likely he would just get up. And you see, he's actually now taking a posture. He's not as perked up as he was before. I think he's now a little bit back down, probably because he doesn't want to give up his spot, but he doesn't want all this buffalo to view him. This is amazing. So many buffalo coming down for a drink. I haven't seen a herd of buffalo this big in quite a long time, so this is actually a very welcome sight. All of them drinking. Now I can hear also there are some grunts around that accompany buffaloes, because although they are not as aggressive as certain other animals, they make lots of noise. Ruvinda, you're wondering if they can sense that the leopard is here. Well, just judging by the direction in which the wind is blowing, I think they could pick up his scent, just because the wind is blowing from Tingana towards the buffalo. However, I think they would be quite... You see, some of them are even putting their head up close to sniffing the air, but I think they would be able to pick up the fact that it's not necessarily a lion, which would be, you know, the main species that they should worry about, because normally, I say this, but now Hosanna is on a baby buffalo kill, but normally male leopards or leopards in general will stay away from catching buffalo unless it's a very small buffalo or an injured buffalo. But you see a lot of them are putting up their noses. I'm sure they can pick up different things, different scents out in the air, but I wonder how long they've been walking for. Pretty sure they've all come all the way from Torchwood. This is wonderful. So many of them drinking water from and appeared pretty much from nowhere. I didn't even hear them coming. And there are still quite a few at the back, so I'd say maybe could be about a herd of 100, 150. So interesting. So many of them coming at the back, and it's a mix of females, males, but I do not see any youngsters, which is interesting. No, there's one tiny youngster to the left. Crazy. So interesting. Right, because this is such a cool sighting, I think we're gonna do a bit of a Facebook unscheduled broadcast, or just unscheduled broadcast, doesn't have to be Facebook, so I'm gonna stay quiet for a little while the girls in FC set everything up. Welcome everyone to this incredible sighting that we've got going on all the way from Kruger, or the Greater Kruger National Park in South Africa. My name is Ali, and on camera with me today is Senzo, and we are very happy to be all the way here as we are viewing two of the most dangerous animals that we get in this particular area. We've got a very big herd of buffalo that just arrived onto the scene. We actually didn't even hear them coming, and they've been flooding this particular dam just for a drink. And just as I thought there were about 100, maybe 150 of them, they haven't stopped coming and they haven't stopped drinking. And up here to the left, we've got a territorial male leopard that's just been looking at the buffalo. Now, if you were wondering, he was here way earlier than the buffalo, and he was enjoying, I think, just the breeze and everything else that was happening while the buffalo have just arrived. And although I'm pretty sure the buffalo can smell him because the wind is blowing from the leopard towards the buffalo, I think the buffalo are just way too thirsty. I don't think there are too many dams, too many areas where they can actually drink as much water as they need to, especially to sustain such a big herd as this one. Now, if you've got any comments or questions, feel free to post them on the comment section on the platform that you're viewing. This is live and interactive, and we do love to hear from everyone else that's watching. Juliet, you're saying hello from London. This weather actually does a little bit like the London weather that I remember. A little bit overcast, but you can see the animals have been loving it. It's been super hot, so they're enjoying this. Beautiful. Flukan, you're wondering if the crocodiles will attack the buffalo in the water. Well, they could, other than the fact that I think there are no crocodiles in this particular dam at this particular time. But yes, they could. Perhaps not go for such a big buffalo. We don't have massive amounts of them as we do perhaps in Kenya. But they would definitely try their luck with a little one. That they could get. Seems like now it's done drinking time. Oh, I don't even know where that accent came from. And they're all now just cooling down. Definitely been a very hot day for all the animals around, as they're now starting to invade the dam and just going in. Morale, you're wondering if a leopard could get a calf from amongst the herd. Well, have to be very careful. So perhaps a calf that's far away with its mother, away from the main herd, because buffalo do tend to protect each other, and they tend to mob predators and just take them, push them away. So that little young calf that we're looking there, it could be at risk of falling as a prey for one of the leopards. Actually, I say this, but we've actually this morning and yesterday afternoon we saw a younger male leopard with a tiny little buffalo off the tree that it had managed to kill. So we can only speculate as how he got it, because buffalo can be very protective, and it's one of the reasons why they live in such big herds. But yes, a little buffalo like that could definitely be a meal for this leopard, although he is sleeping all the way up there, so I don't think he's too interested in buffalo meat. He is also, we think he's recovering from an injury, or he is not looking at his best. So there is some speculation as how he's faring. I think that he's probably on the mend, but that is also a bit of my wishful thinking. Jennifer, you're wondering if I'm not afraid of being so close to the leopard in an open vehicle. No, not at all. He hasn't shown any signs to care whatsoever at the fact that we are in this particular area. And where we work in the Greater Kruger National Park, all of the animals, the buffalo and the leopards, they've been viewing people on this type of card for over 50 years. So they're just so used to seeing us and coming around and making a noise and talking, and they're leaving. And we try not to have any impact whatsoever in what they do. We wouldn't go and pet them or feed them or get involved or anything else. Now there's a buffalo right at the bottom. If you go a little bit to the left, I do not want to move, but there we go. Anna, you're wondering if a leopard would ever drag a kill up the tree to kill it there. Normally the leopards will kill their prey on the ground, and they put it up on the trees just to prevent any other scavenger from getting it. Although I would suppose that perhaps with a little creature or a smaller antelope, they might just, just knock it out and then try. Now, this is quite interesting. We have the buffalo right down here at the bottom, and I think this female has picked up on the fact that there's a leopard here. She is being very curious, and she keeps putting her head up every now and again. So we're just gonna see very carefully how this is going to play out, and I am not going to move, as we do not want to, as I said, we do not want to interfere in any possible interaction that might happen with these two species. But you can see the leopard not really bothered. He knows all the buffalo are here, but I think he's maybe hoping that if he ignores them for long enough, they'll go. She definitely knows there's something there. And also, you see, he hasn't raised his head. He knows that his best chance of being undetected, going undetected, is not to put himself up there and give his position away. Well done, boy. You see, he's been around for a while, so he knows a few tricks himself. Interesting. And now the buffaloes have gone back onto the other side. There's always an inquisitive one that comes around and just has a look and see what else is going on. And I cannot see her anymore. I think she's just gone all the way around. But I do think that eventually, if the buffalo do carry on coming onto this side, that the leopard is going to move off and potentially move away. He is not looking in the best condition, but oh my goodness, seems like we had even buffalo mating. Yeah, but no, he's just in front of us, but I think they've stopped now and was very quick. Everything's happening at this dam today. How interesting. And you see, there are more and more buffaloes still coming. Incredible how all of them were hiding just at the back, and now we're all looking at them. Wow. Little broadcast, but if you would like to carry on watching and see how the action unfolds, perhaps in between all of this buffalo and the leopard, you can just Google us and just type Safari Live, and you'll be able to find us, and you'll be able to carry on watching and see how this interaction unfolds. Hello everyone, now my censorship is finished, now I can speak again. Now you see, now the buffalo are very relaxed at the bottom, but we've got the female again just here where she was earlier on, and she keeps going back up and then going back down and coming back up and going back down. So she definitely knows that there's something going on. We're going to stay around here and see how this plays out, and we'll keep you guys posted. But in the meantime, let's go to Jamie, who's got one of my favorite animals out in the bush.
I can easily understand why zebra are Ali's favorite animal. They certainly are very beautiful to look at. It's that time of evening in the Mara where our herds of zebra start to wind their way up to the top of the Olololo escarpment. I think they do it purely because they feel a little bit safer up there. There's more human activity. They've learned that we're not a threat to them, and they know that there are some nice green grassy fields, places where the grass has been cut deliberately to keep it short. Football fields, for example, or soccer fields would be a nice example of what I'm talking about. And predators are less likely to head up the mountain. As we know, that's not always the case, but I guess that's what's behind the drive of the zebras up the hill every night. I don't really know. That's just what I've always assumed is the case. There must be a reason for it, because every night they go up the mountain and every morning they come back down again. I wonder why. Be fascinating to actually be able to ask them. Will, as we sit and watch our plains zebra, our grill gravy, Will is wondering about the Grevy's zebra and where it lives and where it lives. But let me just give a little bit of background about the Grevy's zebra. The Grevy's zebra is the most endangered species of zebra, and it lives in very isolated areas, very limited areas in Kenya, actually. So you could have potentially seen them there, as well as to Ethiopia. So it's basically into areas where there's less water. It's more arid in those sorts of places. I have never seen a Grevy zebra. I have in a zoo. I have never seen one in real life. In real life wild. It's one of those things I really do want to see. So if you just go a little bit further north, we're in a very high average rainfall area here in the Mara. If you go further north to where there's less rainfall, you would find the Grevy's zebra. Very, very small, isolated populations of the most endangered species of zebra. I really want to see one. It's on my list of to-do things. They've got such weird stripe patterns. They look like barcodes, somehow. I don't quite know how to explain what I mean. Alright, well, the fact that the zebra are wending their way up the mountain means that it's time for the Mara team to do so too. For those of you joining us on certain platforms, if this is the end of your safari, the safari will continue if you just Google Safari Live. So for the rest of you watching in the normal platforms, we're going to be going to the Safari Live logo very briefly, but don't go anywhere. Your safari continues with our South African team. Thanks, Brett.
Well, it seems like there's quite a bit of action unfolding all around the buffalo, and more of them have been coming. I think we lost the count roughly at 200 odd buffalo, all of them at the dam. Not all of them are inside, but you can see they're starting to congregate probably in the areas where the water is still shallow, where they can lie down and just enjoy a bit of a bath. It is quite funny. Can you just go towards the one on the right over there? Because his head is just above the water and he looks hilarious. There we go. If that is not the face of happiness, then I'm not too sure what else could be, at least for a buffalo. Ruminating in the water, pretty much almost to its neck. Very happy to be in there. Well done. Interesting. They're all definitely enjoying it. And Tingana is still up and asleep. He hasn't really moved all that much. I think he's in too much of a comfy spot, and he actually doesn't want to give it away from anything. So he's happy where he is. Love all the noises. Ravinda, you're wondering if animals have different time frames where they come to water holes. Well, late afternoon is a good time to be at a waterhole because normally they would have been done with the eating for the day, or at least trying to wait for the hot part of the day to go away, and then that's when they come and drink. So there's always a high possibility either early morning or late afternoon. But having said that, it also depends on every animal's personality and what their day has been like. Sometimes they'll move and, will come for a drink in the middle of the day. Sometimes they won't. But I think early morning, late afternoon, those are the best times. And those are the times that we do the safaris, because that's probably the times where we have more of a chance, more of a possibility of actually see them moving around and coming either to water or just in general doing something rather than trying to sleep off the heat of the day. I am so happy. I haven't seen so many buffalo together in such a long time. It's such a welcome sight. I wonder if you guys came all the way from Kruger, because they're not too far from the boundary. Look at all of them. It almost makes you want to go in there and be like, "Hi, be my friend. I'm also hot. Can I join you?" Although, can you imagine how quickly they will either come and kill me or just have a panic attack and then just start running? That is incredible. I think it's also, I'm sure you guys can hear, but I'm just going to stay quiet for 2 minutes just so that you guys can pick up just how noisy it normally is around buffalo. Duckspecker, but them moving in the water and ruminating. So I'm going to be silent for a little bit just for you guys to hear everything that's been going on around us. Always something happening around buffalo. They're not the quietest of creatures. I think they're just because they're so big, and also when they walk through vegetation they tend to trample everything. There's also a lot of grunting, especially in between young males and older males, trying to establish a hierarchy. As we see the ones in the middle there of the screen, they've been going back and forth for a while now, chasing each other. So like I said, they're not particularly quiet creatures. There's always something, and I love it. It's just that happy African sound of everything coming to life just around the water, around every water hole. You've got a bit of a wound there, and you see this is where oxpeckers, it's hard to define if they're friends or foes, because they like the blood, so they'll go in there, and the problem is that the buffalo knows how to get rid of you, little friend. So a lot of the times they don't allow wounds to heal, because being the blood or the tissue being exposed, and they come and they start pecking on it constantly, so they actually get in the way of the healing process just by opening that wound constantly and by feeding off of it. But it seems like this particular girl has a few tricks up her sleeve, and she's been very clever. And all she did was just go underneath the water, and then no more oxpecker. Then we see another old wound over there. Sometimes they get these wounds. It could be obviously because of lions trying to hunt them, but sometimes also they will horn each other, and that can cause some pain. Or sometimes when they're dashing, or if they're going very quickly through the bushes, they can get hurt with all the spines and thorns and different things that are on top of all the trees that we've got pretty much all around us. So many. Peter, you're wondering if the ticks will fall off when they're underwater. Well, some of them, yes. It's funny because they also have developed, or some of the creatures have developed relationships also with some of the terrapins, or the turtles that live in fresh water. We call them terrapins, and they feed off the ticks, particularly in the areas where they attach themselves the most, which is in between the limbs and the rest of the body. That is one way of getting rid of them, but another way is also when they go and mud wallow, the mud just actually tends to trap them, and once it traps them and they get out and the mud starts drying out a little bit, and because the ticks are pretty much stuck in the mud, then they go and rub themselves against a tree or a stump, and that's an easy way for them to try and get rid of them. But yes, it is also a good way for them to try and maintain a certain condition and not be too bothered by parasites. Very pretty. And we can see Tingana all the way over here. He is fast asleep, still not bothered. The buffaloes did come once more to try and investigate what it is that was over there, but not interested. He's having a very good sleep. And it's amazing to think, and it's one of the things that fascinates me the most about the bush, is how close different species that are supposed to be enemies can be to one another, either with A, not being bothered with the presence of each other, or B, not knowing that one or the other is there. So I think some of this buffalo felt that there was something tricky going on, and well, Tingana can most certainly see all of the buffalo because so it's a massive dark cloud that just arrived at the waterhole, and they can all see what's going on, but they're not too bothered, and as long as there are no ill intentions, it seems like everybody's fine. Although, having said this, I doubt that this would be the same situation had we had a pride of lions here and the buffaloes there. The lions would have probably retreated and tried to hunt them, tried to camouflage their scent, and just using all the conditions around them, potentially to get close to them. And had the buffaloes found out, very likely they would have run away very quickly. And can you imagine a stampede of some of this biggest animals around here? Brittany, you're wondering if buffalo have a specific breeding time. Well, they tend to, most of them, be born during the summer season, just because it's where there is the most food, and the mothers can therefore eat a lot more and then produce more milk. However, as far as I know, they are not seasonal breeders. They can just have little calves at every time of the year. So that's not too much of a worry for them, but a lot of the creatures around this particular area, they tend to mate in the dry season to then have their little ones in the wet season. And like I say, they try to, some creatures do it like that, and they are particular seasonal breeders where they'll do it in one time of the year or another, but buffaloes don't seem to be that kind of creature. Although I'm saying this, but now I'm doubting what I'm saying, so maybe I'll just check. Feels like I'm rusty in the saddle of Rusty again. Buffalo. So many of them all around. I wonder if they're gonna stick around here, because where the lions were left this morning, it's not too far away from where we are now. They could actually get here very quickly, and as we heard earlier, they're not really quiet when it comes to moving around. The oxpeckers give them away, because lots of little oxpeckers, that sound that we're listening to now, they follow the buffalo herds, because obviously where big animals are, there's a lot more food for them. So they also give away the position of the buffalo. And of course, such a big herd would leave a very heavy scent behind them. So I wonder if maybe the lions will be able to pick up on it and come all the way here. You see, now checking on my book, just in terms of the reproduction, because as I was saying this, sometimes you start doubting what you say. It is indeed, they don't have a particular defined breeding season in areas where there isn't a very particularly defined dry and wet season. So maybe in this particular area they would tend to try and synchronize it with the wet season, but it's not necessarily the case for the same species of buffalo all around the African continent, which is quite interesting. I would say how different species adapt to different environments, or the same species adapt to different environments. And funny enough, we were talking about this not too long ago, just how even all of the books and all of the guidelines that we've gotten, that we study as guides, or even if you're just a passionate wildlife person, everything that you read, there will always be an exception shown to you, and something will not be right. And part of the reason is because we rely mostly on case studies on different areas, specific groups that have been studied in specific areas, not necessarily the area that you're in. So when trying to make a statement, it's always easy just to try and see, due to experience, what's actually been going on. Ah, you're missing a horn. Maybe that's why she looks so grumpy. We are going to stick around with the buffalo, see if they all decide to come into the water and perhaps sleep here. But in the meantime, let's go over to Tristan and find out what he's been up to.
Well, we are sitting at Chitwa. We've come all the way down here to come and see what's going on with Hosana after Ali has stolen the show completely with her epic Tingana and buffalo sighting, which sounds absolutely amazing. I'm very jealous, but it's always good when everybody gets to experience some cool things. So we've come towards Chitwa. Hosana, unfortunately, has dragged his kill into the most horrific place ever. He's dragged it into a pump house of all places, and inside. When I say into a pump house, I mean inside a pump house. And he's then crossed north into Torchwood to go and get some water. So hopefully he'll come back a little bit later, so we'll go around back to him. But for now, we're sitting at Chitwa Open, and we've got a beautiful view of some ellies that are going to start going down towards the dam. So for now, they're just kind of hanging around on the open area. They're milling about with a whole bunch of waterbuck that are also here. So there are our ellies, just kind of slowly but surely walking down towards the waterhole. And so it's been really nice just to kind of have as many ellies as we have over the last few months. It's been really cool to kind of, well, not for months, I should say, probably a few weeks is better than anything else. And so they're slowly going to go down to Chitwa, I think, for a little drink. That's the idea anyway. I'm sure they will head into that section and sort of drink and take it very easy by the water. It's still quite warm, even though it's gotten very cloudy and windy. There's still a nice bit of warmth to it, and it's absolutely wonderful to be out at this time of the day. And so very, very cool to see. Now, we also following them with the drone at the moment, which is quite nice. So hopefully we'll get some good views of them with the drone, and that they'll come out into the nice clearing. It really is very open at the moment. It's nice and sort of dead on Chitwa open area. There's not too much grass and obviously not too many trees, and so it makes it the perfect place to be able to follow the ellies. What you can also see is that there's a number of pathways that go up and down, so you can just see how these ellies move about on this open area, up and down all the time, and it's particularly because of the fact that there's a dam here, is that they kind of come in and out. And also at the moment the paths are all crisscrossing because of the marula fruit, so everybody's going towards the marulas. Now the rest of the herd is kind of broken off from these two, so these are the two, and then the rest of the herd seems to be, I think, a little bit to the left, Ferg, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, there the rest of them are. You can see them just on the top left of your screen there. They kind of moving around and also generally heading in the same direction. They're under a marula tree at the moment, so I think there's a situation where they are busy feeding off the marulas. Right, good afternoon, everybody. A special warm welcome to Garrisonville Elementary, who's just joined us for their school safari. I hope that you guys are going to have the best day and that you're going to learn lots about the African animals. My name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Fergus, who's got his hands full at the moment. There we go, he's just signing off, and the reason he's got his hands full is because we're sitting watching some elephants, and Fergus is not only operating the camera that is pointing at me, but he's also operating a drone from the sky. Now, you'll see from there, you can see that we're getting an bird's eye view of our ellies that are walking around at the moment. So these elephants are going to go and feed off the fruits that have fallen from that tree. How cool is that, to be able to see like a bird would see the elephants? Very, very cool indeed. Now remember, this is interactive, kids, so you can ask lots and lots of questions, and you do that by just giving them to your teacher, and your teacher will then send them through to us, and we will then be able to answer all of them. And I hope that you will ask lots of questions today. It's always nice when we do get lots of questions. Now, it's not just the ellies that are around. So there is also a situation where we've got a few other animals, and hopefully they're going to be kind of staying in this area. And so what we're going to do is we're going to send you off to Ali, who's got a very special sighting of a spotted cat and some big beefy animals.
We do. We have got the version of an African cow, all of them inside of the water, enjoying a very, very nice, cool day. And we've got the boys that were actually fighting all the way up there. So you see all the buffalo in this area. We have counted over 200 of them. So lots of them. My name is Ali. I'm very happy to welcome all of you from Garrisonville Elementary School on the drive today. And on camera with me today is Stenzo, who's enjoying this sighting as much as I am. It's been wonderful spending time with all of this buffalo, as we don't get to see them, or we haven't been seeing them, so many of them around. You see there's some of them fighting. Typical, is that actually a girl? Let's see. So it seems like some of them have been having some rough times all the way at the back. They've been fighting one another, and then the rest of them that are a little bit more chill, they have decided to come into the water. So it's almost like the dry part of the dam, because we are at a very, very big dam or water hole at the moment. The dry part is for fighting, and the wet part is for chilling. Seems like they're all around here. But you don't have to just be in the water to be able to chill, like some of these beautiful creatures that we have here. I mean, isn't that a happy buffalo? All they have to do is carry on chewing the cud. That's what it's doing now. It's helping with its digestive process, and then just enjoying the time in there. Some of them even almost fully, completely underneath the water just to try and avoid the outside world. I think maybe they're going to start getting a little bit cold now that the temperature is actually starting to drop. Now, if you've got any questions that you want to ask us about the buffalo or about the sighting that we're looking at, you remember you can still ask your teacher to send us the questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer. Now, for the grand finale, we just want to show you the beautiful spotted cat that is onto the left-hand side, because he's been chilling all the way out here with us too, and you can see that he is actually not sleeping, or sorry, not actually awake. He's not really paying that much attention to anything that's happening, although he knows that the buffalo are here and that they are all the way around. But I don't think the buffalo know that he is around here. Some of them have tried to figure out what's going on, but Now, I do believe that Tristan is still enjoying the company of an very big animal, so let's head over to him and see if maybe the elephants like going in the water too.
Well, we are enjoying the company of the elephants. I'm just coming all the way around now because they've come down to a big water hole where they're going to hopefully have a little drink. So I'm just trying to get into the same place as them. Now, sorry, Rebecca, you're breaking up quite a bit. I'm trying to hear you, but the audio is a little bit tough. Yeah, there we go. Brody, so you want to know how an elephant got its name. Brody, I'm actually not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it comes from some Latin word back in the day, which I know its scientific sort of name is of that sort of way, as its scientific name describes that its teeth, and so it's big teeth that it's got, but its actual name I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to look it up for you and get back to you, Brody, but very good question. You can see our ellies are just coming past us in the distance, so they're going over this dam wall area. I'm surprised that they haven't had a drink. I would have thought that they were going to have some water there and be able to kind of have a little bit of a sip. Maybe they've decided that they just wanted to come around and get to a different place before they do, but there we go. They look like they might start drinking. They're walking along the edge of the water hole, and they're just kind of slowly checking out the water, seeing what's going on, whether or not they need to drink from here, or if they're going to go to the other side and drink from the other side of the dam. Sometimes they just find places that they prefer and that they like to drink from. The reason why I'm surprised that they walking in that area is because that area is very, very steep bank, and so it's difficult for them to kind of get up and down. So I would have thought that they would have walked on top like the one elephant. You can see the one elephant on the right hand side is up on the dam wall, and it's much easier for him to walk than the others. The others are trying to climb on that dam wall, but it's very difficult for them because of how steep it is. So I think they might turn around. Yes, they're turning around now, and they're going to try and come up an easier way, and then it'll be a lot easier for them to kind of negotiate where they're going. But there we go. They're slowly but surely trying to climb up, and the little ones will have a tougher time than the adults. The adults will have it easy because they've got much bigger legs, and so it makes it easy for them to get up, whereas the little ones, well, it's a bit more of a struggle for them as they try and negotiate that thicket. But how cool is it to see the ellies from there? You can see that they look quite small like that, but actually they are very, very big. We are not too far from them, and if you had to see what the size of us and our car is, well, you would see that we are very, very kind of small in comparison to the ellies. But there you go. You can see they are now up on top, And so they are slowly moving along. Very, very cool to see. You see the little babies with mom there. Very cute. Now, Luca, you're wondering how big elephants can get. Well, a big male elephant can weigh almost 3,000 pounds. So he can weigh, not 3,000, sorry, 12,000 pounds. I don't know what's wrong with me today, Luca. I'm feeling a bit sort of ditzy in my brain. But he can weigh about 12,000 pounds, which is really very, very, very big. That's as big as they get. Generally, though, the males will be about 8,000 pounds and the females around 6,000. They can go a little bit more either way, but that's about how big they normally get. It's a very, very big animal, and they'll stand at about 3 meters tall at the shoulder, 3 to 4 meters tall at the shoulder, which in feet is about, I think it's about 15, 16 feet would be about the sort of height of them. So really large animals, and they are incredibly imposing when they are as big as that. And so you'll find that these females are not the biggest that we get out here. You'll get bigger females than this, and you'll even get bigger males as well. But our Ellies have decided to kind of drift off, and so we're going to try and see what else we can find around the dam. And so while we do that, I'm going to send you back across to Ali, whose buffalo, I believe, are doing what the elephants didn't do and are going through the water.
Well, maybe the buffaloes are making up for all the animals. They have been drinking and having a blast of a time inside of the water. And every now and again, this female carries on coming and looking at the leopard. Brady, you're wondering how the buffaloes stay warm in the cold water. Well, I don't think this water is actually all that cold. It's been very hot today, and I'm sure that's managed to warm up the water. I think they are going to be a little bit cold, or I cannot even say that they're going to be cold, just because I'm normally a person that gets cold very easily, and I'm still very, very hot. So they might just start to feel a little bit cold as the evening comes around, and then as they start getting out of the water, but I don't think they're going to be really that cold at all right now. Hello. Logan, you're wondering why the buffalo chew sideways. That is a very good question, and it's got to do with their digestive system. Now, the buffaloes, as we know, we've got a submarine buffalo there. The buffaloes, as we know, they like eating the grass. So because even though they're a very big animal and they only eat grass, their digestive system is very particular, and it does things in a very similar to what the cows do. So I don't know if you've ever heard about the cows having 4 stomachs. Well, it's very similar with the buffalo. So what happens, and it's the first part of the digestive system, or as they put food in their mouth, it's not like us where you eat it and it goes into your stomach and then eventually it comes out. When the buffaloes eat, they chew, but sometimes they don't chew things and make them small enough for the rest of their digestive process. So they eat it, and if it's too big, it's almost like they vomit it back up into their mouth. And it's a little less gross than saying vomit, but just to give you an idea. And then they're going to carry on chewing that same grass that they've eaten until they make it so little and so fine that when they swallow it again, it'll eventually go down and then pass on and go through the rest of their digestive system. So it's actually a lot of work, and normally it's estimated that whatever it is that they eat only comes out of their body about 4 or 5 days later. So it's a very long time, but as you can imagine, they do an excellent job at extracting all the nutrients and all the vitamins and everything that's good from the grass that they eat. So you see all of them chewing the cud, as it's said. And I think they've all just been eating throughout the day, and as it started getting cooler, they came here because it's a very big water hole that can pretty much allow all of them to come down here at the same time. I think this might actually be the first big breeding herd of buffalo that I've seen on Djuma. I think I've only seen either small groups or just groups of males, which is quite interesting. See, this one's still chewing the cud. So they're all pretty much doing the same. Michael, you're wondering how the buffaloes use their horns to fight. Well, you see the big part in the middle of that buffalo that we're looking at? That normally the males have a bigger center part of the horns. And that part, let's see if maybe we can, yeah, like that one. You see how much bigger it is? Now well, look at that. He's using somebody else's horn to scratch himself. An additional use. So that part in the middle, it's actually called the bus, which is funny enough. And when male buffaloes fight each other, they go head on and they bang their heads against each other. That might actually be a female, not a male. Turn around so I can see you better. That is still a female. Anyway, they get the very big part in the middle, and as they fight, they're gonna go head on. It's almost like, you know, if you grab the person that's next to you and you hit each other in the head, it's gonna be very sore and you're gonna hurt yourself. So they do it there because it's where they've got the extra protection. And now the sides of the horn, that's what they use to, for example, if the lions are coming to hunt them, then they try to use their horns almost like as big swords or knives, and then they try to impale the lions and hurt them with their horns as they move around. But also they're very big animals and they weigh almost the same as a small car. So imagine if a lion comes running, if a car, you know, comes very fast at you and runs you over, it's pretty much the same effect. There we go. And this is the way they fight. Now you see the middle part there of the boss? That's the part that they're using to fight. So they actually don't use the tip of the horns against each other, but they rather use the middle part. There we go. Whoop. Now they're getting hooked. Guys, that's not the way to go. Alright, I think a little bit of untangle is needed. You see he's going down, he's trying to get... Okay, there we go. Now, they're not really fighting too aggressively now. It's not really a real fight, but you can see how they do it. Brody, you're wondering what kind of environment do the buffalo live in? Well, they can live in broadly two different types of environment. The one that we are looking at, it's defined as a woodland savanna. And it's called a woodland savanna because it's almost like a savanna where there's a lot of grassy areas and open areas that the buffaloes like because they eat the grass. So savanna is one of the environments that they live in. But this particular area where we're in now is called also the woodland savanna because it's got a lot of wood, a lot of trees. So you see, if you look in the distance there, you can count lots and lots and lots of trees all around, which you wouldn't find perhaps if you were into the other parts of the African continent. And then there's another species of buffalo that's very similar to this one that we're looking at, but it's considered a different one, and they're called the forest buffalo. And they live, well, as the name suggests, in the forest, in the Congo and in the middle parts of Africa. And they can be a little bit harder to find because they live in very, very thick vegetation, and then they come into these beautiful open areas, and that's where they feed. Seems like the buffalo have decided bath time is done, and some of them have actually started leaving and going all the way back up, but still some of the boys are using the dry ground as playground or fighting ground. But it's hard. They always have to remind each other who's the boss, and imagine in a group of so many boys, it's always a constant fight. It's like, nope, I'm the boss, no, I'm the boss. So they've got to constantly fight one another just to remind each other who's actually, you know, stronger and more powerful. You see how big the center part of his horn is. It's almost like a hat, like those strange wigs that people used in the 1800s and so on. So that just gives them that extra bit of protection. A Viking helmet, says Rebecca NFC. That is also very true. It could be a Viking helmet. They even have the little things, the horns on the side, so very appropriate. Now I'm going to imagine all the buffaloes as Vikings. We just need to add, you know, gold locks of hair behind their ears and then identical. Now we're gonna have a look at the leopard that is still sleeping. He has not moved 1 inch in the last hour or so that we've been here. I think it's because he's been walking quite a bit all throughout the day, and then he came and had a lot to drink. Lots. He spent like a million years drink. No, I'm joking. Spent a good few minutes drinking water, and then he came all the way up here where he can see everything around him, and then he's just been sleeping. There was a moment where we thought the buffalo were gonna come and then perhaps chase him away, because there was a very curious buffalo that was coming around, and I'm sure she could smell it. She could sense that there was something there, that she was being watched almost. But the leopard, he just kept his head down, and then as the buffalo moved away, you know, lifted his head and then peeked through whatever it is that was going on, and then he's gone back to sleep. He hasn't really moved. So we've actually spent the afternoon with him, which has been wonderful because I really wanted to see this leopard. And I mean, who doesn't like spending time with leopards? They are so hard to find that every time that you find them, you have to be very happy. But like I said, I think we've just been watching over him while he sleeps. He drank a little and then he's just chosen this comfy spot. And now you can see all the spots around, but so that is a giveaway. You see the little ear twitching and moving around. Although he is still sleeping, he is very much aware and alert of everything that's going on around him. Every time the buffaloes make too much of a noise or he hears a bird, you see the ears start constantly moving. And like I said, even if he's sleeping, if there were a noise or something that would, might make him feel threatened, then he would very quickly get up and then start moving around. It's almost like we would say having an extra pair of eyes, but in this case his ears are acting as a satellite, and they're capturing all the noises from all around here, and then when he hears something, that's where his ear goes. So he's listening to something on the left, and then it moves and it's a little bit more something on the right, just to make sure that nothing surprises him where he's sleeping. Mrs. Lapwing, you're wondering if this is Hosanna. No, this is not Hosanna. However, this is Hosanna's dad, Tingana. So Tingana is looking a little bit skinny. He was ill for a while, and he was presumed to be very, very ill for a while. You see, he's looking very skinny in certain areas. I do think, however, that he is on the mend. I think that he will get a little bit better. I'm not too sure. I will have to compare certain photos of how people have seen him in the past as to what he's looking now. But I am hoping that he'll be fine. There were some impala earlier on around this area and some water bug that he was showing interest in, so I'm sure that later on, as the night starts unfolding, then he's gonna head into that particular direction, and we wish him luck, because he is looking a little bit too skinny, but I think he's still got it in him. So although not Hosanna, at least almost part of the same family of leopards, which is always good to catch up with all the characters and all the creatures that you already know. And Hosanna, funny enough, he is probably making his dad proud, because he was found not too long ago, or in the last few days, he managed to kill a baby buffalo. And he was eating a baby buffalo. So a bit of an irony that we see the youngster eating the youngster, and then we've got the parent leopard here with all of the big buffalo around this area. You never really know how it's all going to plan out. And you see they're very, very close to each other. Just on the other side of where Tingana is now lying, there's a bit of a slope, so it's not easy for the buffaloes to actually get up there, and I think that's worked in his favor, particularly when earlier on the buffalo were interested in going all the way up there and finding out what it was that was in there. Or, well, not in there, but on there. So we've got one particular female that's looking in this area. Right. I'm going to try and reposition, see if perhaps we can get a different view of Tingana and the buffalo. But while I do that, let's go to Tristan, and it seems that his elephants have unfortunately left him. Let's see what else he can find.
So we are live. Sorry, I've got comms issues, which means that this little thing here is not working very well, and so I can't hear Rebecca very well at all. And it's not my brain. No, my brain is on the blink, but it's not my brain this time. Anyway, we're sitting here on the open area. We've come up from the dam a little bit, and we've got quite a few different species of animals. It's really, really nice. So we've got impalas, which is the one that's closest to me. This is a big male impala that we've got here. And we know he's a boy because he's got horns. So the girls do not have any horns at all. They have just smooth tops to their head. And the reason that the boys have horns is because they have to fight in order to get a female to become a daddy impala. So they have to fight one another. Now there you'll also see a bum that is sticking out, the little grey bottom. That is for a warthog. So the warthogs are also here feeding, and they are having a really good route around. And what they do is they feed a little bit differently to the impalas. The impalas are going to eat leaves and grass and go up and down and kind of move around a bit, whereas the warthogs, they eat mostly grass seeds at this time of the year. But what they also do is put their head down with this nose that's got a big disc on it, and it's quite hard, and it's much like a pig. They dig up and they try and get all of the roots and tubers that are underneath the surface. You'll also see a little bird running past, so that was called a blacksmith lapwing. They also hang around in open areas like this, and it's a very common bird to see out here, and they called a blacksmith lapwing because when they call, it sounds like a blacksmith hitting on iron, so it makes a tick 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 sound like that, and so that's where it got its name from. Very, very cool to see. And the little warthogs and impalas and the various other animals that are here are all out here because at the moment it's starting to get quite dark. There's a bit of stormy clouds that have come in, and so the darkness is starting to come, and when it gets dark like this, it's obviously very difficult for a lot of the animals to be able to see predators, and so they have a situation where they've got to come into the open to be able to see predators better. Now, Logan, I think you're asking, why do the impalas have little ridges on their horns? I think that's what I got from that. So the reason why they've got ridges on their horns is because I was saying they fight to become daddy impalas. And so what happens is they come together with their two sets of horns and they clash like this, and they'll lock their horns together. Now, if their horns were very, very smooth, then it would mean that the horns would slip and they would stab each other and maybe even kill each other. And they're not trying to kill one another because at the end of the day, they don't eat meat. They're grass eaters or leaf eaters. And so they don't want to kill each other. They just want to try and establish themselves as the strongest of all of the impalas. And so those ridges, when they come along, it means that they grip onto each other and they can then fight without the horns slipping and hurting one another. So it's a very clever thing to have those ridges on the horns. It means that the horns are nice and sort of stable and they can fight each other really well to be able to then become the strongest and to become the daddy of the rest of the impalas. Now, what they would be fighting for is the rest of them, which are down there. So at the moment, at this time of the year, the females are not really in estrus. So that means that they're not ready to become mommy impalas yet. And that means that the males are quite sort of good with each other. They don't fight too much. It's when they start coming into an estrus cycle, which will be in sort of April time, that's when you'll have a situation that they will then kind of fight over one another. But now I see that as we've zoomed in, I thought those were females because they're quite far away from where we are, but most of those look like young boys. I'm sure there are some females in there because generally the young boys don't hang around by themselves. So that's a little young boy, and then behind it is actually some girls, which is very good. So there are some mommy impalas there as well, which is fantastic news because it's always a bit nerve-wracking when we see. So, Cecilia, you want to know why an elephant sucks water through its snout rather than trying to put it in its mouth? Well, Cecilia, the reason is that if you look at the way an elephant stands, is the elephant is very tall, and so it's difficult to get its mouth to the water, and so it has a long trunk, and that's basically like a straw. I don't know if, Cecilia, if you've ever been somewhere and you've got a cold drink and they give you a straw, and it makes it much easier. You don't have to kind of bend down to drink from the glass. Imagine if you didn't have hands and you couldn't pick up the glass, you'd have to bend down like this, and it would be very uncomfortable. So the elephant has got this long trunk that acts like a straw, and basically it sucks water up, and then when it gets to the top near the eyes, it's got a little membrane, so it's basically like a little bit of skin basically that closes the trunk off. The water comes up towards there and fills up, and then it picks it up and it sprays it back into its mouth. So it actually doesn't drink through the trunk, it just picks water up and then sprays it into its mouth like a hose pipe in order to get more water. Now, there's also another type of animal that is sitting here at Chitwa, which is called a waterbuck. And you can see earlier I was telling you that they fight with one another, the males and the boys, and this is what they are doing now, is the boys are busy practicing. You can think of this as training. It's like they are going to become wrestlers, and so they have to practice their technique and also get their necks nice and strong and make themselves physically capable of then dominating. Now, these two males here and these two boys are still very young, so they're not going to be able to find a mommy yet. They have to wait until they are much older, probably in the next 2 to 3 years, before they will be able to do so. Right, while our two little boy waterbuck chase each other around and hit each other's heads together, let's send you back to Ali, who I believes buffalo are starting to leave the water like our elephants did.
Indeed, there is only 2 left out of all the million buffalo we saw. Oh no, stay put, because we could actually see the terrapins, all those little things, all those little like triangular things, there we go, that poke out of the water. Those are little terrapins, and they've actually been feeding on the ticks of the buffalo. There we go. You can see them all around there, just looking for either ticks or for some wounds where they can get some of the flesh, just as bad as an oxpecker, which are the little birds that come on top. So you can see all of them around it. Look how many they are. Of course, it's the last buffalo, so now everybody's hungry. Look at them. Going crazy. My goodness. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us today on this afternoon drive. We hope to see you guys again, and, well, up to the next one. It's been a pleasure having you, from myself, Tristan, and everybody else. We hope to see you guys again sometime soon. I got very confused with whatever FC was saying to me, but I think welcome back to the adult side of the show, everyone. I'm sorry, there are certain things that I'm rusty about as I haven't been around for quite a while, but I'll get back there. Sensei, can you just show the terrapins just at the bottom, because they have been going absolute... Okay, well, that's a sensitive area to be getting ticks from. Yeah, you get the tail now. Look at all of them going crazy, just biting, and some of them are properly digging into the skin of the buffalo. So interesting. Look at all of them feed off the ticks. Now, it's not only the oxpeckers that will do it, but look at that. Look how fierce that terrapin is. Okay. I am so surprised at the tolerance of this particular buffalo. I think this male is not really keen to join the hustle of the rest of the... Are you going? Yeah, okay. We won't blame you. Those. Look at how many terrapins. Incredible. So many must have been feeding underneath the water as well. We couldn't see them. And now it's too much, hey? I don't blame you. And rather carry on with the rest of your herd, because if you get found by the lions, not ideal. Disappeared. Just as quickly as I came, they all went back out into the distance. And this is literally the last buffalo standing all around here. Now, I think we might end up with some interesting activity throughout the night. Card Monkey is saying new definition to Ninja Turtles. Yes, I think that is properly what it is. The new Ninja Turtles, they were all going absolutely crazy. It was wonderful. I haven't seen so many of them and go like, I want it. Anyway, now that the buffalo have gone off to in that direction, I want to head back to where Tingana was, see if perhaps he's maybe raised his head or if he's still sleeping down there. Hopefully without, falling into the water myself. Let's see. Can you just let me know if there are any stumps there? Like the one I just hit. Alright, let's do this the forward way. Dawn, you're wondering what's a group of terrapins called? I actually don't know. Ninja Turtles. A clan of ninjas? I don't know. That's quite interesting. I don't know. If you guys have an idea, just let us know using the hashtag SafariLive. I actually have never thought about it. I don't know, maybe a school of turtles? A group? There's got to be a funny name, and especially after all of the crazy interaction and movements that we've been today. Those were some of the hungriest terrapins that I've seen in a very long time. Tristan will not forgive me for saying turtles. Now, what's going on, Rusty? You can do this. Let's see. First Lady, you're wondering if buffalo carry any diseases. Well, yes, they do. The most common disease that they carry in this particular area, which is the most concerning one, is bovine TB or bovine tuberculosis. Now, it's normally a disease that they carry around. It causes them to lose condition. Ooh, sorry, it's a bit of a bumpy road until we get to reposition next to our beautiful butte. And the problem with the bovine TB is that they're actually able to transmit it to other creatures when they feed off of them. So they will give it to other species like lions. When lions go and kill buffaloes, they will eat the lungs, and that's normally how lions become carriers of TB. But the problem with TB, it's being an airborne disease as well. It's very easy to transmit from one individual to the next just by touching each other's nose or each other's mouth or just exchanging saliva or just touching each other. So unfortunately, it is very common if one individual has got TB, then the rest of the herd is very likely to have TB. And that's why TB-free buffalo, which are normally the bigger, more handsome ones, let's put it that way, are worth in terms of private game reserves a lot more than the non-disease-free buffaloes that we get in all of the Kruger National Area. Now, it seems like the beautiful boy here did pick up on the fact that all of the buffalo left, and who knows, maybe he was just actually sleeping to try and camouflage himself and go unnoticed by all the buffalo, although I don't think you really want to wake up just yet, do you? It's fine, at least you've got your head up, so we're gonna wait a little bit, and the sun is starting to set, so perhaps we'll get interesting colors out behind him. I do love it when leopards sleep in this particular manner with their heads like almost tilted down. It's just like they're fighting, and they're fighting with everything that they've got. I will not fall asleep, but oh my god, I'm so tired. I cannot stay awake. Now, boy, where will you go tomorrow evening? Joe, you're wondering if Tingana could have contracted something by eating a deceased animal. Well, yes, he could have contracted TB. TB also will spread not only from buffalo, but it can spread to other species of antelope as well. So if he ends up eating another creature that potentially has TB, very likely he would have TB as well. The thing with the cats is that although they can become carriers of the disease, it doesn't seem to be fatal on them like it can be on some of the other species. I don't know if you've ever seen photographs. For example, sometimes you see animals, or particularly lions, I think it's the easiest one to tell, where they have this big, almost like an abscess on their joints, so on their elbows or on their knees, and so TB tends to affect the lymph nodes and they become swollen. So it's a very good sign that particular individual that you're looking at is perhaps or has TB. I think Tingana in this case, he's just looking very skinny. It could be, it could have been that he was hunting and then he received an internal injury and it took him a while to recover. And then because they're solitary creatures, although it takes them a while to recover and they don't have to look after anybody else, it also means that they can only fend for themselves, and it becomes a little trickier to try and heal if you cannot find enough food. So I think it's a bit of a tricky situation, but definitely they can all pull through that horrible situation if they've got all the right conditions. And I think Tingana might just be coming right now, because I know about a month ago, there was a lot of talk of him having disappeared, but happy to see that, at least we're getting a view of him today, and I am hoping, like I've said countless times, that he will mend. Ravinda, you're wondering if any animals sleepwalk like humans do. That is a very interesting question. I don't think any of them do, as in like they will not be conscious and start walking around and not remember. I think for animals, they always have to have at least a level of awareness for their own safety. I think maybe the closest thing that I would imagine, or that I could point out as an example, is perhaps elephants, where they go into this semi-sleeping state where they'll be half awake, half asleep, and then they'll just either carry on chewing or eating. Well, other creatures do it as well. The buffalo might do it as well when they're ruminating, and all of the other antelopes. But I have never been aware of animals sleepwalking in the same sense as humans do, where you'll just wake up and do something and just not forget about it. And I don't know. I'll have to go back and find out. It's actually a very interesting thought. See if animals also sleepwalk like what we do. I think that maybe a sleepwalking lion or a leopard might be a scary encounter at night. They might just be like, oh, hi. Oh, I ate you and I don't remember. Now, boy, you're looking in the wrong direction. The buffalo went that way. I think they're a bit too big for you. You should probably look at us. And, well, there aren't really any leopards and impalas on this side. Alright. Where are you going? Ah, there we go. Somebody's awake. It's very peaceful and quiet now that the buffalo have all gone away, and we can just hear the last little noises of the daylight creatures before the nighttime takes over. What you looking at? Jared, you're wondering what he's looking at. I'm not too sure. I'm also wondering the same thing. I keep looking in the same direction as he is, but I cannot see anything from here. There were some water buck earlier on, and as well as some impala, so I wonder if perhaps he's looking at all of those things in the distance. He is on a higher level compared to us, so maybe he's looking at something that we cannot see. I'm going to get my binos out and then just scan the area, see if I can find anything in the distance. Definitely cannot see anything that he's looking at, and I think maybe he's lost interest as well. It always makes me feel a bit of undeveloped human or an undeveloped species just to think that from where he's standing he can pick up the movement of something moving, just twitching their ears or going through the bushes. And from where we are with my eyes, and I've got pretty decent eyesight, I cannot see anything. Now, do you think? Well, this is your time to shine. Just start moving around. His body language, his posture has definitely changed now as the sun has started to set. Of course, you're going to fall asleep as soon as I say that. Let me look again. Nope, cannot see anything. I wonder what your ears can pick up. Nothing behind us either. Funny. Miguel, you're saying that you're surprised he isn't trying to hunt. I think he's just considering where he's gonna go and what he's gonna do. Also, he's a very clever boy, so perhaps he needs to take it. And because he's so skinny, he needs to take advantage of all the conditions that are around him, and especially of the environment. So we know that he likes this particular area. He knows exactly where to go for food. So maybe he's just waiting for the cover of the darkness, where he knows that he's not gonna be seen as easily, to actually start moving around. Earlier on also there was a bit of a breeze that I would imagine is going to carry on through the night, and that breeze might have a decisive role in him perhaps bringing something down. As you can see, the branches around him have started to move again in the wind. Now the breeze seems to be picking up again a little bit, almost, because at one point it went away and it got very hot. So I am hoping you'll get lucky. Also, I'm surprised he hasn't tried to go for any of the chicks or any of the nest around here. I'm sure he could find a few if he looked for them all around Buffelshoek. Probably just looking at where to go. But I have a good feeling that he heads more north from where we are. He might get lucky. Tristan, you're saying that I should give him a pep talk. I've tried. Very much so. I have been sending him all the positive vibes, all the rainbows and sparkles and giggles and everything else from everyone. So I am hoping he will get all of that good energy and then just, carry on doing his own thing and being a wild leopard, that we can enjoy his company for a lot longer. A typical leopard thing to do. He wants to start waking up now. Like, obviously his instinct is now kicking in, and he looks very alert, and he looks in very good spirits, I should say, although he's looking skinny, which is a good thing. Sometimes having a good spirit, or just being ready for whatever comes next, is a good thing in carrying on and pushing through whatever illness or condition you may be in. Although we would really appreciate if you started moving. Oh boy. Have you heard that? Our friend the hippo has decided now to join the party as well. He is... Ah! There we go. Nope. Spoke too soon. Well, look at that beautiful scenery all around Buffelshoek Dam. Beautiful. I love it when there are so many clouds in the sky and it's a proper African sunset. So the clouds, a little bit of yellows and the different colors of violets all coming in. And there's something about being around water during the sunset which is wonderful. I do think we're gonna get wet this weekend. Seems like there will be a lot of rain coming around, which again might be good for some creatures, and in general for all the water and conditions, all the dams and all the vegetation to grow. Although I must say I feel sometimes like a cat. I don't really like to get wet out in the rain. Not particular. Now if you look to the bottom right of your screen, there is our good friend the hippo that's have actually endured all of these creatures coming onto the water hole today. He was being a little bit shy, and he wasn't having any of it, and he spent most of the time underneath the water. But I think now that the buffalo have left, he's decided to also be part of the picture, although still very shy with his head underneath, well, his eyes and his nose. Hello. Alright, so it seems that the correct collective noun for terrapin is a nest of terrapins, although some people were suggesting a terror of terrapins. I think that's my favorite for now, though. Oh, hello. Yeah, well, I'm sure it was a terror of an afternoon for you, wasn't it, Hippo? So many things coming to your Now, the terrapins that we saw could potentially also be feeding off on the hippo, but I think perhaps because the hippo's been in the water the whole day, maybe they've already taken care of any possible skin parasites that the hippo has got. I do find it funny that he's lying like that. We know you're there. It's almost like, you know, if I can't see you, you're not here, and I'm not really here. I'm invisible. But it's funny, it almost looks like the ears are the eyes, and he's a very strange creature. Now, they can sustain their breath, or they can be underneath the water for about 8 to 10 minutes. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually takes all that time before he comes up for the water. He is a bit of a shy hippo, doesn't really like too many people around, and I think this has been a bit of a crazy afternoon for our introvert hippo. Too many humans, well, 2 humans, like a million buffalo and 1 leopard. It's probably not what he had planned for the afternoon. Maybe he just wanted to tan and have a lovely pool party by himself. And then everybody else joined in. That's why now he's sulking, and that's why he's got his head underneath the water. I think he might actually just be heading off to try and come out and then start looking for some food. There is some grass around, so I'm sure maybe he's gonna start heading all around us to feed. Maybe he'll go this way, and then Tingana will go this other way. It'll be quite interesting to see when we come tomorrow morning, just to see how everything else has planned out for today. Very beautiful sunset, and it's been actually such a wonderful afternoon out here in the bush. Stunning. Just another wonderful day in Africa, as they say. Beautiful. Now I think for the last few seconds, maybe we're just going to enjoy the view. I can promise you all that Tingana is very much asleep. I don't think he's gonna wake up before we leave. But on my behalf and of everyone today, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.